And welcome to this week's edition of Leafwire's Industry Trailblazers, where we speak with and learn from some of the industry's true pioneers. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. David Cunic from UCSF Advisors. Dr. David has been in the legal cannabis industry for over 20 years, opened 8 cannabis companies in 5 different states, served in 3 different state associations, and his company, UCSF Advisors, was voted by Dank Investor, one of the top 10 investor relation firms in the U.S. Dr. David, thanks so much for being with us today. And
Mike, I appreciate being here. So thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Let's empower and let's educate others on this, on our viewers and on this podcast.
Absolutely, because this is a subject that everyone's interested in, as you know. And we'll just dive right in. Why don't you just talk about how did you get into the cannabis industry to start?
Sure, I'd love to. So I actually am a physical therapist by trade, and I started my medical career in the state of Maine back in 2001, roughly. And a lot of people forget Maine got medical marijuana back in 1999. That long ago. A lot of people think it's Colorado, but no, Maine got it back in 1999. So the orthopedic surgeons I was working for were very pro-cannabis instead of opiates. So I was actually teaching patients all the way back as early as 2001 on how to use cannabis instead of opiates for pain. Then from there, in 2009, I took one of my companies public, and we were one of the first publicly traded cannabis companies in America. Well, we provide information on health and wellness for people and for their pets. So we were covering the benefits of CBD for dogs all the way back then. We were covering the benefits of THC for your body, as well as educating people about their endocannabinoid system. And then from there, I got involved in the testing lab industry. And I had testing labs in Las Vegas, Nevada, Denver, Colorado, and Portland, Oregon as well, too.
Wow. Okay, great. So yes, a true trailblazer. You've been in from the very beginning. So it strikes me, and that explains a lot of how you really gained this expertise on how to capitalize and do successfully, do fundraising for cannabis companies. Maybe can you talk about the challenges that small cannabis businesses run into when trying to attract investors?
So I like that question you said, the challenges that small cannabis businesses have, because that's like a circa 2015, 2010 mindset. Where we are now, 2024, pretty much 2025, cannabis is mainstream, which means that the hype money, the flashy money, ooh, cannabis is cool, the hype money is gone. And so we need to have, as a cannabis operator, as a cannabis small business owner, that you need to treat this like any other business when it comes to raising capital. A lot of people forget, over 80% of businesses, small businesses, do not qualify for bank loans. They do not qualify for banks' lines of credit. So you have to really kind of keep that mindset of, hey, if you open up a yoga studio, or you opened up a pizza parlor, or you open up a barber shop, or whatever it is, or you open up even a convenience store, it's the same business principles. And what we see a lot of still in certain parts of the country when it comes to small cannabis businesses is that they still want to take shortcuts. They still don't want to do all the work, because we're in cannabis. We don't need to do everything else that every other type of small business does, but that's not the case anymore. So really when it comes to attracting investors, is treat your business like it's any other business, any other small business that you can go out and raise money for. It doesn't make a difference if it's cannabis at all or not. And here's an example, Mike. You open up a dispensary. Well, why are you opening up that dispensary in that town, in that location? What's your competition? What's going to make your store stand out from your competitor? So forth and so on. That's just basic business information that, if you're going to open up a pizza parlor, are you going to open up your pizza parlor with 5 others right down the road? Are you going to make the same exact type of pizza as everyone else? you have the same customer service. You really have to have that market delineator. So like I said, the hype money is gone. And so we kind of really tell our clients the challenge for really attracting investors is you got to treat this like any other business. And on top of that too, you need to be proud as a business owner. It's amazing how many people still in this industry or trying to get into this industry don't talk about it. They don't want to be shunned. They don't want to be labeled. And that also makes it really difficult to talk to investors because investors want to know that you're, for lack of a better term, pot committed to raising the capital for your company.
Okay, so kind of building on this theme, can you maybe expand more? And I'm sure this is a very long list, but maybe just talk about, what are some of the common mistakes that you see businesses make, that you see entrepreneurs make as they're trying to raise capital?
Such a loaded question, and I'm going to give you some of the top ones, all right? We here at UCS Advisors, we give out what's called Green Nugget Advisor Tips. Advice on how to do things. And Mike, you've seen my LinkedIn page. We posted a lot. Our number one Green Nugget Advisor tip is failure to plan is planning to fail. And that's the number one mistake that we see. People do not plan accordingly. And here's an example. You're talking about how much money you need. Well, how are you going to have to raise any more money ever again in the next year, 2 years, 3 years? If you don't know that answer, that's failure to plan right there. Another great example is when people are raising money, they usually tell you how much they're raising in total, but they don't tell you the minimum check size that they're willing to take from an investor. Here's an example. We recently had a client, they're raising $2.3 million. And our question to them was, what's your smallest check size? They go, $2.3 million. I go, great. I have an investor who wants to give you $500,000 right now, but you only want 2.3, so they're not interested. It's too big of a deal. Oh, no. We'll take $500,000, Dr. David. We'll take $500,000. And it's, well, no, we asked what your minimum investment size was. And you told me the total amount. That's a very common mistake. Another thing is too, which everyone here, which is the most common mistake we see is the following. If you're going to need money 6 months from today, you need to start your capital raising journey now. And where I'm going with this is that investors are humans. And a lot of the type of investment money you're going after is small family offices, individual investors, people that might be 3 or 4 degrees away in your network of people, and so forth. And this doesn't happen overnight. You want to build a relationship. So a lot of people don't need enough prep time. And a great example we have, and this goes back to your last question about people lack of effort. Someone came to us recently and they have 4 cannabis deals. And then they are part owner of 4 different cannabis companies. They go, great, we need money. We're like, awesome. Show us your pitch deck. We don't have one. Show us your executive summary. We'll only show it to you if you're a serious investor. Well, what kind of investor are you looking for? Anyone that's looking to invest in this type of deal. That's laziness right there. That's failure to plan because you're not identifying your clear and concise type of investor. But this person needed the money in less than 60 days. This person that was representing the 4 companies, I go, all right, what if the average investor due diligence time is 60 days before they cut a check? No, that's not good enough. We need someone that can write a check in less than 45 days. And that goes back to, once again, not allowing enough lead time. Networking means just that. You need to work. When it comes to raising money, a lot of times as well, too, is that people don't want to build that relationship. They just want that quick check. That doesn't happen, especially when you're a smaller business operator. And another common mistake we see, and I could go through a whole list, but I'm going to probably bring this up again as well too, is you have to have emotional intelligence and proper business etiquette. If someone asks you some tough questions about your investment opportunity, don't get mad, don't get angry, and don't be flip with them. I was at MJ Unpacked recently, and something came up about an investment opportunity. I was sitting with 4 investors at the table. Everyone asked a question, and the person got mad and angry about it. And they're like, well, you're just picking on me because of X, Y, and Z. No, you want our money. These are real questions we need to know answers to. So recapping really quick, failure to plan is plan to fail. Secondly speaking, make sure you plan if you need money 6 months in advance, okay? So if you need money 6 months from today, you need to start to plan now, because most capital raising journeys last about 9 months overall. And last but not least, when it comes to just how you handle yourself, make sure you have emotional intelligence and proper business etiquette. And proper business etiquette can even be as simplistic as, oh, you're not interested in my deal? Thank you, but what kind of deals are you looking for? Maybe I can be of assistance. Let me send you a follow-up email. These small little steps go a long way, particularly in cannabis, because cannabis investors all talk to one another.
Great stuff. Yeah, and I'll tell you, at Leafwire, we have a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, a lot of people with stars / dollar signs in their eyes. And it's always the first question I ask when they come to me is, do you have a business plan? Do you have an executive summary? Do you have a pitch deck? So, and I know this is also a very loaded and a pretty detailed question, but what do you see? What do you look for in a plan? What do you look for in an executive summary that tells you that this entrepreneur, this business will be successful?
There's a lot of moving parts for it to be successful. And Mike, your definition of successful might be different than my definition of successful.
Well, let's just say successful in raising funds.
Okay. So right off the bat, let's talk about the business plan, because that's one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to raising money. If you're doing a Series A round or a Series B round, you need a pretty comprehensive business plan, because you already have some runway. You're already kind of going to that next level. But if you're friends and family round, or some investors will call it a pre-Series A round, a business plan doesn't get looked at very often. And if you're pre-revenue, I'm going to tell you right now, probably about 80 to 90% of investors won't even look at your business plan, because it's just minutia, all right? Now, a bank, though, if you're going for a bank loan, always wants to see your business plan. But direct investors, not so much, especially if they have friends and family around. So when people say, oh, I have a business plan, they don't care about that. They want to know your pitch deck, okay? The second thing is, people say, well, I have this business plan. I have this amazing pitch deck. I'm going to tell you a little secret, Mike. For most investors, especially professional investors that invest a lot, the very first thing they care about is actually your 2-minute elevator pitch. Mike, if you're raising money, great, you have my attention. Give me your 2-minute pitch right now. Based off your 2-minute pitch, most investors will know right off the bat, 1, if it piques their interest, and 2, if you're going to be successful raising money. Okay? And people forget about their 2-minute pitch, and people say, I can't do this in 2 minutes. No, yeah, you can. That's part of it. On top of that, too, most investors, well, when they meet someone and they want to see your 2-minute pitch, they want to see your emotional intelligence and your business etiquette. Because if you can't do that right there live in person, there's a good chance you're not going to be successful raising money, because you can't deal with people, you can't manage people. And investors are people too. And let's take this another step further. I mentioned proper follow-up, Mike. You know, someone says no to you, or let's use Benzinga. Benzinga recently, we met with some people that needed capital. We followed up with everyone, and about only 40% of those people got back to us. And what's interesting, some people since Benzinga reached back out to us saying, oh, hey, do you have anyone that wants my deal? Well, no, we followed up with you. You've never even followed up with us, and you're the one that needs the money. So right off the bat, your 2-minute pitch and how you follow up will really determine a lot. Now, to answer your question directly, Mike, your pitch deck and your executive summary are extremely important. And what makes it someone successful raising capital? It's raising money is a subjective story backed by objective data. Let me say that again. Raising money is a subjective story backed by objective data. When I was raising money in 2009, 2010, 2013, 2015, we didn't have the data. We didn't have as much research over in Israel. We didn't have access to all these companies in Canada or here in the USA. There's so much data now. There's no excuse why you don't have the data. All right. The other thing is too, when looking at a deck or executive summary is how much money are you raising? What's the minimum check size, like we just talked about before? And what's the use of funds? And I'm going to tell you, if most of your money for use of funds is for marketing, or even 50% of your money is going to be used for marketing, that's an automatic yellow flag to most investors. Because there's a lot of stuff you can be doing on your own. There's a lot of organic marketing you can be doing on your own. And so that's another thing that will determine whether a successful raise versus an unsuccessful raise.
So what should be what would you say would be the correct, being that I'm coming to you from the marketing space? What do you think that the right ratio is? Is it 5%? That's often what I've heard. 10%? What do you think is the right
So
number?
you're asking a trick question, and there's no straight answer. It depends of the industry that you're in and where you're at. If you're pre-revenue or if you're already revenue generating. And here's an example. We have a cannabis company down in Maryland. Their marketing budget's $1,000 a month for the last year. That's it. And they're doing okay. Now we got them to increase their marketing budgets, not dramatically, but at least 400% or 500% more per month. And having it very strategic what they're spending it on, okay? Versus someone who's like, oh, well, I'm raising $1 million and 400,000 for marketing. Why? You don't have any product. You don't have any services. You haven't built an online virtual community yet. It's one of these things where there are so many steps you can take on your own that are free or cost us pennies on the dollar. And a great example is LinkedIn. Great example is LeafLink. Like, we tell people, are you like, oh, you're for Canvas, are you part of LeafLink? No, what's that?
Leafwire.
Leafwire. I'm sorry. My apologies. Because I was with LeafLink a couple of weeks ago. My apologies. So, but for Leafwire, it's like, you ever heard of Leafwire? Why not? It's called Google. Like, it's not that difficult to find overall. And also when you're presenting to an investor, you want to show the investor everything you've done already organically marketing, and what kind of community, what kind of wait list. There was a cannabis company, I won't say which state for privacy reasons, and part of their deck was literally to show people point blank, hey, we already have over 82,000 email addresses on file that want our dispensary at this area in this town. How do you think that make the investor feel?
Pretty happy.
Exactly, because there's a need and a want. And that cost them money. That didn't cost them a huge marketing budget. And the other thing is too, when it comes to your executive summary or your pitch deck, there's two parts that are usually left out. The first part is why you. If you're the founder, you're the CEO, why you? And secondly, why now? And that second part, why now, gets missed all the time. It's a very common mistake in cannabis. And people say, why can't I get more people to talk to me about this? Because you have no reason why someone should be talking to you, why this investment needs to occur today.
Fantastic. Great stuff. Okay, so just switching gears now, let's maybe just turn our attention a little bit to, I always like to ask this question, also a very loaded question. Obviously, things have just happened in the past week or so that have a big impact on rescheduling versus descheduling. Maybe just talk about, where do you see the industry? How do you see how things are shaking out over the next 5 to 10 years?
I love it. Such a loaded question. So,
not an easy answer.
whether it's descheduling or rescheduling, I tell people the following. Pay attention to the state that you live in and the state that your business is in, to the local elections. Who is going to be the mayor? Who's going to be the governor? Who's going to be the state rep? Who's going to be the senator? Who's going to be the House of Reps? Like, you need to pay attention to that. That's a lot more important than worrying about the bigger picture here, okay? Because depending on who's representing your state is going to kind of determine if you're going rescheduling or descheduling, all right? Now, there's pros and cons either way, whether it's descheduling or rescheduling. As we tell our clients, part of raising money is to be adaptable and flexible. When it comes to raising money, it's like a living, breathing organism. It's like a baby. It changes every day. And that's what it's like when it comes to capital raising. So whether it's rescheduling or descheduling, it's not going to make a difference. But over the next 5 to 10 years, though, I'm going to tell you this. We're going to see a lot of consolidation. We're going to see this in the next 5 years. Let's just talk about the next 5 years. We're going to see a lot of consolidation. We're going to see a lot of mergers and acquisitions. We're going to see people who realize I can't make as much money as I thought I could in this industry, to finally say, hey, I want to back out. In terms of brands, we're only, in my opinion, I think we're going to see maybe a maximum of maybe 30 quality brands in the next 5 to 10 years, and that's it. You're going to maybe see some regional brands, but you're going to only see 30 maybe powerhouses, and that's it. And that's being generous. I think it could be as low as 20. And we're going to see, once again, like beer, and we are starting to see it in the New England area, craft small batch cannabis. And we, as something like wine. Yeah, it's kind of like, and let's use a wine example. Do you want $2 Chuck from Trader Joe's, or, you know, or do you want that really nice vintage bottle that you're not going to have for a little while, or that maybe comes out once a year? And we already see that already in states like Maine. We see that already in states like Massachusetts, where I don't want that Walmart of cannabis. I want a certain strain. I want a certain type of medicine as well, too. And that's the other thing is, too, that kind of hurts our industry. Is this a medicine or is this a recreational drug?
Yeah.
And when we have that split divide, it really makes things a little more interesting. And I think with Florida not passing the votes and medical is going to be there, I also think it might be a little bit of a resurgence to really let people know, hey, this is a medicine. Let's treat it as a medicine. And we tend to forget that. But overall, we're going to see a big resurgence of craft cannabis and people being very, very specific on what they want versus the casual user.
Cool. So, so in closing, and just to kind of double down, if you will, on that question, do you, when someone approaches you and says, "I want to get into the cannabis industry," what's your reaction to that? Do you still recommend this industry for the aspiring entrepreneur? What's your take on that?
Well, as someone that's a capital raising advisor who's been in this industry for over 20 years, the very first thing I say is go get a paid advisor. And you don't need a lawyer right away. You don't need an accountant right away. And I'm going to tell you 3 stories really quick. We had one person who literally was going to try to raise $3 million and get involved in cannabis. We were the second company that they hired for advice and to kind of navigate the field. Within 4 months, they're like, this is going to cost me a whole lot more money than $3 million. I need a lot more help than I thought I did, and the profit margins aren't there. Thank you for saving me a ton of money. This is the right industry for me. Example number 2. We had a company that want to raise and get involved in cannabis and do about a $20 to $25 million huge project. They came to us, they hired us, and we gave them where they should go to do some due diligence. We helped them find some due diligence on what to do. For them, they realized, oh my God, this industry isn't the right industry for me. And why are we doing this from scratch? We can go buy a bunch of distressed assets and companies that are hurting over the next several years instead of doing this from scratch ourselves and trying to create something out of nothing. Great. You just saved us literally a few $1,000,000. The key is we don't want to get a paid advisor and get involved in this. Do your due diligence. It's like any other business. And Mike, it's kind of like, hey, Mike, you want to start your own website company? Well, do some recon work. Figure it out. All right. Hey, you want to open up like a gym? Great. Do some research. Figure out pricing. Same exact thing is just don't jump into it blindly. And what we see where a lot of people are struggling when it comes to attracting investors, some of them just kind of jumped into the industry. They didn't do the recon work. They didn't want to take themselves to the next level. And something that we have here, and it's pointed right here on my website at ucsgreatness.com for people like you just mentioned who are thinking about getting involved in the industry or have a difficult time raising capital. We actually offer a free investor-ready quiz with instant results. And yes, people pass the test because we get asked that all the time. But it also gives you food for thought on, is this the right industry for me? I didn't think about some of these questions when it came to raising money. Do I still want to do this overall? Because until we get bank loans that are coming out more often, lines of credit, until we have a huge influx of capital, you really have to have your house in order. Because we are in an investor's market now. The hype money is gone. You're in an investor's market. You can get money. And we've helped many companies secure capital, but they had to have their house in order.
Great stuff, David. Dr. David Cunic, thank you so much for joining us today. I feel like this is really important stuff for anyone, any aspiring entrepreneur in this industry or any industry. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here today. And hopefully, people learn something, and make sure you sit here and go. Make sure you also, if you're listening to this, make sure you go to Leafwire, fill out a profile, be active. We tell people all the time, our clients, you should be active at least 3 days a week. If not, you're missing out on opportunities.
No doubt. All right, very good. Dr. David, thanks so much. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.
You too. Take care.
Bye.